Hello, everyone. Welcome. So welcome everyone here in the Fortress, and welcome to everyone watching us through the stream. Today, we have a great presentation coming, and I'm so honored to welcome our keynote speaker. So please help me, join me in welcoming the godmother of the metaverse, one of the top women in tech, Cathy Hackl.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Yes, I am popularly known as the godmother of the metaverse. I can share a story on why a little bit later. But before we go into my talk, I do want to say something about the next 100 years. I see the next 100 years as a new era of exploration and expansion, when we're going to be going into multiple areas, these three especially. You know, we're going to go inward to better understand our intelligence and our brains, whether that's artificial intelligence or, brain-computer interface. We're going to go also to outer space. I mean, Florida is very well positioned for that part of the exploration. And then also into virtual shared spaces or the metaverse. We're going to spend, a bit of a time today talking about that blue circle. I do want to say that for us to do any of these things, we do have to take care of the physical world, because we're not going to be able to do the things that we need to do if we don't take care of that and address climate change. So yes, thank you. But yeah, what does Orlando look like in 100 years? Have you guys thought about that? What were your, maybe you guys might be alive, but what were your children or your grandchildren possibly? What are they going to be doing? So start to think about what their world is going to look like. We're going to go to the past, down memory lane first. This is when the internet was starting to happen. This is a clip, clip from Katie Couric in the Today Show, trying to talk about the internet. And you're going to laugh, but that's how we all sound today when we talk about the metaverse. So I'm going to play this.
That 56 pass, I wasn't prepared to translate that as I was doing that little tease.
Oh, that's
that little
right.
mark with the A and then the ring around it.
At.
See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I'd never heard
Or
it.
around
I'd never
or
heard it
about.
said. I'd always
That's
seen
right.
the mark, but never heard
Yeah.
it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
Yeah, I heard
be around
big
or
fight
about.
up in the lunchroom the other
See,
week.
there it is. Violence at NBC. GE.com. I mean,
Well, Allison should know.
what
do you
is
say to that,
internet
Allison?
anyway?
Internet is that
Massive computer
right,
network.
the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
So Allison, that's all of us right now talking about the metaverse. So even though I'm up here as the godmother, that's what we all sound like. And at that moment, Allison, the producer, jumps in and talks about what the internet is. But many of us can't even imagine our lives without the internet. So this is the past, and this is a clip, I'm going to show you next, a clip of myself on 60 Minutes, trying to explain the metaverse to an audience that tends to be older, right? So people that watch 60 Minutes tend to be a little older, and try to find a way to explain it to them in a very non-technical way. So this is a clip from the present, really the past, because this is from May, but let's call it the present.
I'm Lori Siegel, and I'm about to be turned into a 3D avatar. And then I'm going to be turned into an NFT. Welcome to the future of the internet.
And whether or not there's a market for her or it, there is a home. It's called the Metaverse. And it's being referred to as the future of the internet. If the current version of the web is two-dimensional, think of the Metaverse as three-dimensional. Cathy Hackl is a VP at Avatar Dimension, the company that owns this studio.
Can you explain what the metaverse is?
I think about it in the convergence of the physical and the digital, right? So to put it in today's terms, right now we have kind of a physical persona that we are in the real world, and then we have this digital persona that we're on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok, right? So in some ways it's kind of like converging those two. It's in some ways the next iteration of computing and the next iteration of the internet.
And it's already here.
So yeah, there I am trying. You can tell my brain's trying to figure out how do I explain this in a very simple way. But when we're talking about the metaverse, and we're going to get a little bit into what does the metaverse mean? What's the difference between metaverse and Web 3.0? What are the implications for society and for everyone? So
I'm Lori.
Hold on. Before I do that, I do want to, again, go down memory lane. So I want to tell you guys, even though I didn't study here at Full Sail, I do have kind of a history with Full Sail. And Full Sail has been a part of my journey as I've succeeded in my tech career. I've spoken here multiple times at Orlando IX. And you can see that picture there. And then also, when part of my journey was to actually go work for Magic Leap. So you guys know what Magic Leap is? I'm sure many of you guys know. When I went to work for Magic Leap, I went in thinking it was the next Apple. It didn't turn out to be that way, but it's still an amazing company. And it was here at Full Sail. I was keynoting an event called Orlando IX. I had tweeted that I was going to be in Orlando and I was going to be so close to Magic Leap, and I had ordered my first device. You have to understand, this device, people were just waiting to get their hands on it. No one knew, super secretive company, raised $3 billion, right? And I tweeted at the CEO and I said, hey, I'm going to be at Full Sail doing a keynote. And he literally messaged me, Twitter DM'd me. He slipped into my DMs, I guess. And he messaged me and said, hey, I'm sending my A-team to give you your headset. And we set up this whole thing here at Full Sail. So you guys were one of the first companies to actually get one of those devices in here. That was really exciting. And the team, yeah, I know, woo! Yeah, and those pictures that you see there, that's honest to God truth. I was so excited. And Full Sail was part of that journey. And they literally did send the A-team. They sent the person that usually did the demos for Beyonce. And people like that. So it was a truly exciting thing. And I don't think it would have happened if it hadn't happened here. So it was very exciting. So yeah, I went on to work at Magic Leap for a few years. And one of the reasons that I have a metaverse pedigree is that I worked at HTC Vive during the partnership with Steven Spielberg's adaptation of Ready Player One. So I'm sure many of you have watched that movie. Went on to work at Magic Leap as an enterprise strategist. And if you look at this picture right here in the middle is Roni Abovitz, who used to be the CEO of Magic Leap. To one side, you've got Neil Stephenson, who coined the term metaverse. Right? He was our chief futurist. And then the other side, you have John Gaeta, who created the bullet sequence for the Matrix. So those are the type of people I worked with at Magic Leap. And we really did think it was the next Apple. It wasn't, but it's OK. So now we're going to get into the gist of this. So Web 1.0 to Web 3.0. Web 1.0 connected information, that gave us the internet that Katie Couric was trying to explain, and that changed a lot of things, right? Web 2.0 connected people, and that gave us social media and the tech juggernauts of today. It also gave us the sharing economy and gave us e-commerce and many different things. And, many of us I can't envision my life without, certain social media sites. Not Facebook, though. Okay. And then the evolution that is happening right now is beyond going from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. How many of you here have heard the term Web 3.0? A couple? Okay, perfect. So Web 3.0 connects people, places, and things, or people, spaces, and assets. And those people, spaces, and assets can be in fully virtual environments at times, so virtual reality sometimes, or gaming spaces at times, but they will also be in the physical world. And I'm going to be talking a lot about why the physical world is part of the metaverse as well. This is the evolution, really. This is kind of where we went, in the Web 1.0 times, it was brand.com. In the Web 2.0, it was @brand, and we got all the cats on the internet. And then now we're going into Web 3.0, which is brand.eth. So if any of you guys are into crypto and NFTs, you totally get what's going on there. So those are actual NFTs. So let's make sense of the metaverse. I will tell you, I do something every morning. I go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary, which sounds really boring, and I type in the word metaverse. And every morning I get the same message. This word is not in the dictionary. So it's really early, right? We are Katie Couric and Brian Gumbel trying to describe the metaverse right now. So if I play this back in a couple of years and be like, wow, that lady really sounded stupid. But that's not the case. We're just trying to define it. There's no agreed upon definition yet, but I think we all, in some ways, agree that it's the next, let's say, the successor state to today's mobile internet. That's kind of where we're heading. It is about virtual shared experiences that happen both in virtual spaces, but also in the physical world, right? So it's kind of where we're heading. It's our digital lifestyles catching up to our physical lives. And there's many other definitions and many other ways to look at it. But most people agree that it is the successor state to today's mobile internet. So how do you enable this said metaverse? And what does it have to do with Web3? So in order to enable the successor state to today's mobile internet, we're going to need many different technologies. Right? Augmented reality, virtual reality, or mobile phones, those are entry points. I would say one of the biggest misconceptions that people hear the word metaverse and they immediately think virtual reality, Oasis, Ready Player One, and VR is a part of the metaverse, but it's not the only thing. Or they hear the word metaverse and they, think Facebook or Meta. And what I'll tell you is it's not one technology, and it's definitely not being built by only one company. It's being built by many different companies. And that is one of the exciting things about this new era, is that innovation is distributed, right? I used to spend a lot of time in Silicon Valley. That's kind of where Web 1.0 and Web 2.0 took off. With Web 3.0, what I am seeing is that it's changing. Innovation is distributed. I go more to New York and Miami now than I do to Silicon Valley because of all the crypto innovation and everything that's happening. But we're going to need AR, VR. We're going to need, I see gaming as the on-ramp. We're going to need Wi-Fi, Wi-Fi 6 and 5G. Blockchains and NFTs are incredibly important. Edge computing, artificial intelligence, you name it. We're going to need all these technologies. What is the difference between Web 3.0 and Metaverse? So they're intrinsically linked, but they're not interchangeable. Okay? The difference here is the following. For me, Web 3.0 has to do with how we connect those people, places, and things. Remember how I mentioned that? And the metaverse, to me, has to do with how we will experience the future of the internet. What does this mean for society, right? Many of us, look at the things that Web 2.0, the great things that Web 2.0 brought to our society, but the very negative things as well. So there are some anthropological questions we need to ask ourselves, and I'm of the mindset that we need to ask those really uncomfortable questions right now. So when you guys are working on your projects and starting to think about, what are we doing? If we're doing something in the gaming space, if we're doing VR, if we're doing AR, what data are you tracking, right? Where are you storing that data? What are you going to use that data for? Because we want to make sure that we get ahead of those questions and do things more ethically. One big thing for all of you, in this era that we're heading into, because of Web3, especially in that connectivity, there is a potential for the creators to share in the value of their creations like they have never done before, right? So you've got Beeple, a digital artist. He created digital art for years, posted it for free on Instagram for the likes, right? You know what happened last year in March? Many of you guys read this. He sold Everydays for $69 million. And it doesn't mean that all of you are going to sell. not everyone's going to become Beeple, right? But it does mean that because of blockchain, you are going to be able to share in your creations in a way you haven't done before. So, and the world is becoming machine readable through the metaverse as well. What does this mean for commerce? I do a lot of work with brands around commerce, and I'm not sure how many of you here are sneakerheads, but if you are into sneakers, you're probably starting to see all the things that are happening with virtual sneakers, right? So my friends at Artifact just got acquired by Nike end of last year. They came to fame selling virtual sneakers. Each pair was the lowest pairs were $1,000 for virtual sneakers. Then there were $3,000 and $5,000 for virtual sneakers. They sold, I think, $3 to $5 million in a couple hours of virtual sneakers. Okay? And that's kind of where a lot of these things are happening. There's an evolution in commerce, and this is, once again, an opportunity for a lot of you guys. So physical to physical commerce has been happening for centuries. Virtual to virtual commerce has been happening for decades in gaming spaces. As you guys, I'm sure most of you guys are gamers. It's just really sexy now to talk about selling something on Roblox, right? But it's been happening for a while. The work I'm doing has to do with virtual to physical commerce. So let's say I'm in Roblox or in Fortnite, and I really need to buy something, and I have an opportunity to buy it, and then it gets sent to my house, or I see something really cool, like a really cool Balenciaga hoodie on an avatar. I can purchase that and get it sent to my house, or what have you. That has not been done at scale, right? So we're looking at architecting those solutions. And then there's the physical to virtual, where I'm at a physical place, like this one, and I'm giving a talk, and maybe hypothetically, I'm not giving away NFTs, but hypothetically, I would give a talk, and you guys would all get an NFT because you were here. There's already POAPs, for example, that you can get. It's proof of attendance. Well, not proof, similar, but you get an NFT, for being somewhere or doing something. So there are things happening, not at scale just yet, but those are definitely big opportunities. What does it mean for business, right? Many of you might go on to have your own studios, or you might go on to get hired by, a big gaming company or, a BFX company or wherever you end up. What does it have to do? There's going to be new ways of engaging with customers. There's going to be new revenue streams. And right now, for all the brands and the companies I'm working with, is a time to innovate. This is, if I work at a brand, this is the most exciting time because you're actually able to play again. Web 2.0 was starting to get a little boring, a little stale. And now all of a sudden, everyone's really excited about Web 3.0 and the metaverse and doing experiments. And it's this moment of kind of almost going back into the sandbox. What does it mean for customers? You eventually are going to have, customers, or you might already have customers. It means that you're going to be engaging with them in many different ways. It means that your customers are going to be exploring different identities as well, right? So it's really interesting. Last year, in 2020, I wrote an article for Forbes, and I said, is direct to avatar the next direct to consumer? I posed that question. Right? And I said, direct to avatar is becoming a new commerce model to reach audiences. And you can see it. $100 million were spent in virtual goods inside gaming platforms last year, and that doesn't include any NFTs. Right? And I'm sure, how many of you guys here bought something in a game in the last year? Most of you. And I see that with my children. Every time my children do something, whether it's first communion or like a birthday, and I go and ask them, what do you want? They never say, oh, Mom, give me some cash, right? No, they say, Mom, I need Robux, right? Or for some other kids that are older, I need V-Bucks, or whichever game they're into, but that's what they want. This matters to them. This matters to you guys. And you guys are proof of that, okay? So direct to avatar is a thing. If you ever come across the term, I will tell you that I coined that term myself with Ryan Gill. Okay? So, what does that mean for Florida, where you're based right now? Once again, Web 1.0, Web 2.0, very Silicon Valley based, and great stuff still happening there. But in Web 3.0, it is about distributed innovation. Innovation in many different hubs, not just one place dictating what the rest of the world needs to do. Okay? So that's an opportunity. You guys have Magic Leap, like I mentioned. Game design. You guys are doing a lot of amazing stuff around simulation and game design here. You've got Full Sail. Yay. A lot of different universities. And then, South Florida is becoming a bit of a crypto NFT area. Most people, I can't tell you how many of my crypto millionaire friends have moved down to Florida because of the incentives, of course, but a lot of stuff happening there. What is the metaverse market opportunity? Okay? There's tons of projections out there. How much is this going to be worth, and et cetera, et cetera. I think it's Bloomberg that says $800 billion by 2024. Like I said, it's 100 million, not billion, spent on virtual goods. I wish it was 100 billion, but to me, I look at these numbers and I'm like, well, you can make all the projections you want, but what does this really mean? I think in some ways it means that we're moving away from looking at gaming as something that's a niche. If you ask a lot of people in Fortune 500s, a couple years ago, they were like, oh no, that's something only young kids do, or like that's a niche, or gamers, they have an idea of gamers, in their basement playing or something. And the big thing for me is like, no, you need to evolve your concept of what gaming is and your concept of who is a gamer. Right? So just because I didn't grow up playing Call of Duty like my brother did not make me not a gamer, right? I play other stuff. First-person shooters aren't my thing. But, there's other games I like to play. I love playing Fruit Ninja, and I love playing a lot of other games. Like Job Simulator was one of my favorite VR things ever. So, what is really a gamer? And I think that's part of what's happening. And you see there, a study from Newzoo predicts that by 2023, the number of gamers worldwide will exceed 3 billion. So that means that everyone from grandma to grandbabies are gamers right now, and that's going to evolve. Another thing that you're starting to see, I mean, obviously, many of you guys read the news about Microsoft acquiring Activision Blizzard, biggest gaming activation ever. The thing that I'm seeing happening right now is the following. Is at some point in Web 2.0, every company said they were a tech company. So for example, WeWork would say they were a tech company. It's like, well, are you really a tech company? I don't know. What's happening now also is I see all the companies saying, we're gaming companies. I don't know if every company is a gaming company or metaverse companies. So you're going to see that again. There's a little bit of a hype cycle. I have to be very honest about what's going on. Very important. What is the market opportunity? New jobs. All of you guys sitting here that are here at Full Sail, you guys are set. You guys are you guys have the jobs of the future. I cannot tell you how many people come up to me, say, hey, where can I find a game developer that can do Unity or Unreal or can create this world for me? I mean, every single day, every brand I talk to is like, oh, I want to do something Roblox, or I want to do something Fortnite Creative, or I want to do an augmented reality. You guys are so lucky. I don't know how to tell you, but you are so lucky right now. And it's just exciting to see that you guys are here. There's new jobs being created, like I mentioned. Things like hologram stylists, right? I do a lot of work around volumetric video and holograms. I'm very lucky to be able to produce that. And one of the things when you're thinking about the hologram, the person you're going to do as a hologram, is you're like, what are they going to wear? For example, this would be a horrible outfit to do a hologram, because most of the volumetric cameras hate black. They don't hate it. It's just it reflects and it doesn't. It depends on the color, and the sheen of the material. But shiny things, for example, you would have to tape everything down. You can't have like loose clothing. You can't. Normally the hair has to be in a ponytail. There's a lot of things that go into volumetric video. Right, so there's going to be new jobs like that. There's going to be new opportunities. I was talking to a few folks from Full Sail a lot about the work I do in fashion. There's something called Metaverse Fashion Week happening at the end of March. I actually just got named the chairwoman for this year, first ever Metaverse Fashion Week, so big honor. And lots of things happening there. I see this moment for game developers, right, that are developing in games. Some of you guys might be interested in fashion as well, and outfitting avatars, right? But then I see the people that go to traditional design, universities that are used to using fabric, and then you ask them to help you design something in a game, and they don't get it, right? They're like, well, why can't the fabric do this? It's like, no, because Roblox Studio just can't do that right now. So I think that there is a bit of an opportunity there to get the gamers in with the fashion designers to create new fashion lines, right? Virtual fashion lines that only exist in the metaverse, possibly, or potentially physically, but there's opportunities here. So the holy grail, to me, to be honest, is when we seamlessly blend the virtual world and the physical world. That's going to unlock even more possibilities, and you guys are set, let me tell you. So what role do you all play in the metaverse? If this is the future of the internet, what role do you play? At lunch, for example, someone was sharing that there's another alumni that's now a billionaire or something around that. And that was really exciting to hear. Maybe that's going to be you guys, the next billionaire, trillionaire, right? What is the role you play in the future of the internet, in the future of the metaverse? This is very, very exciting. You guys have so many opportunities, but are you going to be, for example, the telcos are going to be the infrastructure, the rails, they're going to build that. We're going to need the devices that are going to be the ways that we're going to access the metaverse. We're going to need content, right? We're going to need content, whether it's gaming or NFTs or holograms or whatever it is. And we are going to need connectivity. So there's going to be a lot of different jobs and opportunities. I know that a lot of folks, normally talk about artificial intelligence, replacing a lot of jobs. And I am not naive. I know that AI will replace some jobs, but the types of jobs that you guys are doing are really important for the future of this convergence of physical and digital. So now we're going to go a little bit more into a more fun part of the talk. We're going to go from the Lumiere Brothers to Little Nas X. So many of you guys know probably the story of the Lumiere Brothers, I'm sure. okay? But for those of you guys that don't, at some point in the late 1800s, a pair of brothers called the Lumiere Brothers, they were doing motion pictures. First motion picture was shown, I think it's 1895 in Paris. And when people saw the train coming at them, that was the first time they had seen a motion picture. They ran to the back of the theater because they thought they were going to get, run over. So I believe wholeheartedly that the Lumiere brothers or sisters are working on creating what comes after the motion picture, right? And it might be one of you guys right now working on this. Very important, and I know that I'm speaking to the crowd here, but it's really important for everyone to understand. I personally hate it when people say that something isn't real because it happened in a virtual space. They're like, oh, that's not real. And I beg to differ. Just because it happens in a virtual space does not make it less real. This is Lil Nas X in Roblox. Okay? My first concert was in a stadium. My son, who's 10, his first concert was Lil Nas X in Roblox. And if you ask him, he'll say it was Lil Nas X in Roblox. He lived it. It's real to him. So just because someone doesn't understand that, and many of your parents and grandparents probably don't, it is real. These are real memories. These are real connections. These are real people that you guys are playing with and that you're creating for, right? So just because it happens in the virtual world does not make it less real. And that's one of the things I try to teach every executive that I work with. Gaming is the on-ramp. Gaming is the parent to the metaverse. Unity and Unreal and other game engines, right? You cannot have that promise of the metaverse if you're not building those worlds. And those worlds, they're on, Unity, Unreal, and everything that's happening. Another big thing, we're going to need more users per instance, right? I think we can all agree on that. If we want those virtual shared experiences at scale, things will need to change, and technology needs to advance so we have more people together, right? Eventually, we're not talking about just 30 people, 32 people in an instance. We're talking about hundreds, or millions, or maybe billions of people in these virtual shared experiences, right? So this is going to change, and it's going to have to evolve. That's why the metaverse, is being built today. It's not here yet, right? This decade that's coming around, this is the decade where we're building the rails and building those first parts. So now we're going to use metaverse as a verb, because we can, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about I'm going to tell you how I metaverse. So I am going to flex a little bit. This is part of my NFT collection. So anyone here into NFTs? Okay, woo! Awesome. So I am a mutant ape. So I'm not a bored ape, but I am part of the family. I'm a mutant ape. So if you know anything about what's going on with NFTs, you know that Jimmy Fallon and Gwyneth Paltrow and all these famous people now have an ape as their profile picture. This is pretty much, it's artwork. That's digital artwork that lives on the blockchain. I own it. I own the IP to this. It's like owning a piece of the future of the internet. And it gives me access to a community and a group of people. But someone was saying, like, why would this weird-looking mutant ape be worth what it's worth? Right now, I think the floor price for those is $30,000. And the floor price for mutant apes is like $150,000 for the bored apes. Because there is intrinsic value in this, right? You have, for example, the Mona Lisa. There's only one Mona Lisa, right? You can make a copy of the Mona Lisa. It's not going to be worth the same. But it is non-fungible. That's what makes it different. There's only one Mona Lisa, right? So it's a one of one, and I own this one. There's no other ape that looks like this. There's many that look similar. There's only one of one, right? I've also been very lucky to be able to, through the work I'm doing with NFTs and Metaverse and world building, connect with a lot of amazing projects. Every project that is successful is because it is focused on authenticity and on community. Community has never been more important. And for example, Boss Beauty's role models. This is a new collection by Boss Beauties that I collaborated on. I'm actually an NFT. I'm right over here, next to my friend Randy Zuckerberg. But yeah, I'm an NFT now. So this is a collection honoring historical figures. It's going to be, launching pretty soon. And there's going to be historical figures as well as some role models of today. So these are all NFTs. There's a pretty big and active community of women and allies behind these projects. But once again, everything that you do, many of you guys are probably already thinking of launching an NFT project, I'm sure, because you see all the numbers and all the news. And if you are, community and authenticity have to be at the heart of what you're doing. NFTs and DAOs, if anyone's into decentralized autonomous organizations, those are long-term commitments, right? So I beg you, please, if you launch an NFT or do a DAO, don't think of it as a land grab. Think about it as a long-term commitment to a community. Ralph Lauren, this is actually a very important, case study that I can share. It's near and dear to my heart. I actually helped them create their foundational Metaverse strategy. And if you've been following any news around Metaverse, they've been doing amazing things. They launched the world in Roblox at the end of last year. That was very successful, very fun. They leaned into the fact that it is gaming. They leaned into the fact that it has to be fun. It can't just be a brand coming into Fortnite Creative or coming into Roblox and saying, hey, buy my thing or look at me. It has to be fun. You have to lean into the culture, right? And that's one of the things that I do with the brands I work with. I'm like, you have to kind of almost make fun of yourself a little bit. This is about having fun, right? This is not about you selling your stuff. It's about having fun. If they buy it, and they will buy it because they have fun there, it's a great added value, but it's about creating these experiences. For me, Metaverse and Web3, it's not about ads. It's about acts. It's about experiences. It's about connecting with people on a different level. You almost could say that age of extraction, right? The Web 2.0 era of extraction, where all our data was being extracted for, in exchange for a free app, that's evolving. Hopefully with blockchain, we're all going to be able to own our data and be able to say where our data goes and what we do with it. And if we want to get paid for it, we can say that as well. So let me show you this video briefly. Who knew a makeup NFT could be so exciting, right? Look at that promo. So I co-developed the strategy for Cliniques' first NFT. They were the first brand within the Estee Lauder companies to do an NFT, and their focus was on community. They didn't say, we're going to sell the NFT and make X amount of millions of dollars. They said, we're going to launch 3 NFTs, and we're going to do that for our loyalty community. We want to bring our loyalty community into the metaverse. So the NFT gives access, there were only 3, gives access to 10 years of makeup. So anyone here, male or female, that uses makeup, 10 years of makeup is pretty good. That's true utility right there. And then access to hero products. So like Black Honey, which is one of their lipsticks that went viral in TikTok, is completely sold out around the world. So the people that have this NFT actually have access to Black Honey and some of the hero products when they come back. So yeah, once again, focused on community, right? So I know that sometimes you guys look at brands and you're like, oh man, why do you keep advertising to us? But it's about doing things differently, right? This was a totally different approach, and we've gotten such great feedback on it. All right, so the next video I'm going to show you is another project I worked on. So this is a project I worked on with Procter Gamble, one of the world's largest advertisers, for CES. They wanted to create a virtual world that was browser-based, where they could actually invite people to learn more about their sustainable beauty and responsible beauty initiatives. So, because it was a web-based world, graphics-wise, it wasn't as great as something you would see maybe in other platforms. But it still was a great experience. It was during CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, where a lot of people still went in physical form, but many people canceled. So this was kind of an alternative to finding out what they were doing with sustainable beauty. And we had Twitch streams. We had a lot of work. We had a lot of panels with important people in the industry, as well as female gamers. It was a great project. We're going to continue to grow this and make it even better. And once again, they were focused on their beauty community, right? This was not for people in other areas. This was really for people that were interested in the P&G brand, responsible beauty, and connecting with that community there. Another thing that I'm doing currently is, in my company, we are creating offices in a lot of platforms, right? So if you see here, this is our office in the Sandbox, which is an NFT gaming platform, right? It's a little bit more boxy, as you can tell. The aesthetic is a little bit different. And on the other side is our offices in Fortnite Creative, and it's a yacht, yes, because we can, right? It's about leaning into fun. How many of you guys are developing in Fortnite Creative? Some of you guys? No one? Wow, y'all need to start. You are? Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. So with Fortnite Creative, you can create your own islands, right? So we're creating our own office in an island, and you can tell the aesthetic is very different, right? But yeah, those are kind of our offices. We have offices in Roblox, we have offices in Decentraland, Sandbox, Rec Room. We're working through a few other ones. Core as well, Core Game. We have an office in Core. So yeah, kind of developing this. I have a small gaming studio that I kind of manage. So another part of the work I'm doing has to do with social good. And this is not meant to be political. This is just about showing you the technology. But if you scan that QR code, what you're going to see in front of you is what I call the public service announcement of the future. You're going to be seeing Dawn Staley, who's a coach at University of South Carolina, and Aaliyah Boston, one of the top female basketball players in college. You're going to see them in front of you as a volumetric video or a hologram, for lack of a better word. And this was for a campaign that we did to try to drive more vaccination for athletes and young kids. So yeah, not trying to be political. It's more about showing you the technology. But there are ways to use technology also for social good or for nonprofits as well, because I'm sure many of you guys might go on to work for a nonprofit or are already involved in nonprofits. So yeah, you're going to see that in front of you. You can scale them, move them, all sorts of things. So that's obviously pre-recorded volumetric video. But this is where I get most excited, is the advancements that are coming, holoportation. And yes, that is a word, sounds like Star Trek, what have you, but that's a true word that's being used in the industry. So what you see here is a video. That is my office in Washington, D.C., where I live. And those are two people that are actually in a volumetric capture studio in Los Angeles. And I am looking at them live, right? They're doing this live, and I'm seeing them live in my office. I'm going to be hopefully doing some really interesting volumetric video for Metaverse Fashion Week as well. But yeah, pretty exciting. Those things are pretty close. I do want to mention something because this is kind of breaking news. But you see how it says Eighth Wall, and 8i? So Eighth Wall, the company that does the augmented reality to be able to push the volumetric video, just got acquired by Niantic. Literally a couple hours ago, the news broke. So that's kind of another big gaming acquisition. So if you play Pokemon Go, you know who Niantic is. Another great thing, another cool innovation that I'm excited about, this is from my friends at Emerge.io. Emerge has been in stealth for a couple years. They just came out of stealth. You're actually able to feel virtual items. You're able to shake people's and avatars' hands, right? So there's a little device that goes, you see the little device? It's actually ultrasound. You don't have to wear a glove or anything. You can put on your VR headset or your HoloLens, and you can shake someone's hand, play games, touch things. So exciting stuff. And that's called Emerge.io. They're on Kickstarter right now, so exciting times. And then another thing, another way I metaverse is trying to merge the universe with the metaverse. I'm very much infatuated with space. So one of the projects that I'm working on is sending NFTs to the moon and to space. So that's really exciting. And actually, last week, there was a big announcement by Brooke Shields. She sent the first NFT that was minted in space. So I'm not sure who bought it, but it went up to space. So you're going to start to see a lot more of that when it comes to digital payloads being sent up to space using the blockchain to track those. And once again, community and authenticity are kings. Any project that you do, please keep that focus. That's what I tell every single company and person I work with is community. Community has to be your main focus, and authenticity has to be at the center of everything you do. Yeah, this is a great opportunity to make a lot of money, but if you're not doing it right, if you're not doing it with a mission and with community at the end of it, you're doing it wrong, in my perspective. So before we go into Q&A, I say this in every single one of my talks. In the metaverse, we are all world builders, and now is our time to build. So keep building what you're building. And to the women and minority folks out there, I am Latina, I want you to feel welcome building this future. This future is for all of us, not for just one single group of people. This is for absolutely everyone, and now is our time to build. If you have the technical skills, build worlds. If you don't, build community, or build whatever. You can build both if you want. But building, this is the time to build. This next 10 years are critical. We're building the future of the internet. You know, that's where Katie Couric was. Remember where we started? Katie Couric and Brian Gumbel sounding really silly. That's where we are right now, right? Imagine everything that's been built since then. This is our chance. This is our moment. We're at that cusp again where we're building the future. I do have a book coming out. So if you go to metaversebook.com, you can kind of check it out and pre-order if you want to, if you're interested in reading and studying more about the possibilities of Web3. And before I leave you, I hope I get to see all of you in the metaverse. So, thank you. So now we have about 15 minutes or so for Q&A. So I hope you guys have some questions. We'll see. Yeah. Yeah. So do you have a microphone or no? Okay. I'll repeat the question. But the question was, what ethical concerns do I have about the metaverse and NFTs? With NFTs, ethical or more sustainable, or both? Both, okay. I'll start with the metaverse. All right. I think it's important with the metaverse for us not to try to replace reality. I think the physical world is beautiful. We need the physical world. I do see the metaverse being unleashed in the physical world as adding data and information to our lives, right? So not so much trying to replace it. I don't want, like I said, I do not want Ready Player One. I do not want the Oasis. Like, I don't want to escape reality because it's so horrible that I have to put a headset on. Regulation? Oh, yeah, there has to be some type of regulation. So you don't want to be regulated, or you do want to be regulated? Hold on. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
We're all trying to be free. Thank you.
I get what you're saying. Yes.
If we're all trying to be free, you know what I'm saying, in aspects of our lives and stuff like that, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm building towards an open, decentralized metaverse. That's what I want to see. Like investments I'm making, the things I'm doing is towards an open, decentralized metaverse. I am a realist, right? There is a big component over here of walled gardens. Are they going to want to go open and decentralized? They might go open. They might not go decentralized, right? So I do realize that we're probably going to have a big component of open, decentralized over here with ecosystems, with interoperability and everything. That's what I hope for. That's where I want to play. But I do think that there'll probably be some walled gardens and centralized areas that we might want to go to for some reason, right? So yeah, this decentralization I think is a sticky issue. Not for me. I want an open and decentralized metaverse. That being said, when it's open and decentralized, there's no customer service. Okay, so if you get scammed and your NFTs are gone, that's it. There's no recourse, right? So there's no customer service for you to call and say, hey, OpenSea, they stole all my NFTs. So that is a point. And from a regulation standpoint, I do think some tech companies should be regulated. I believe enough is enough. I'm tired of the age of extraction, to be honest. So anyway, yeah, over here.
My name is Focus. How do you envision the music industry
Yeah.
evolving over the next couple of years? And obviously with virtual reality, bubbling up, when do you see that like hitting like mass adoption?
Yeah. So the question is, where do I see the music industry and entertainment going when it comes to these things? I see several things, right? I see an opportunity. I also see a challenge. But from the opportunity perspective, you're going to be able to not just perform in a physical space, you're going to be able to perform also virtually, right? So I think, I can't remember the number, but it was like Travis Scott made, what, 20 million doing his concert in Fortnite? Like, just, that's one night, right? Yeah, of course, he had to rehearse, but right? But that's a lot of money for one night, right? So I think the artists are starting to look at that. The artists that are aging as well, like Ava, they have a show called Avatar coming, like it's really old school, but they're making themselves younger and they're avatars and they're going to be performing as avatars. I think the stars that are starting to get older and realize that they're not going to be touring much longer are starting to look at these technologies and how do I keep my legacy going and keep my music going. That being said, every artist now, whenever they sign with a label, whenever they sign even whatever it is that they're doing, there's going to be questions around NFTs, right? If in the era of the early movies, people would James Dean and all those would sign these contracts away, literally signing away their representation in current media and any media in the future. So there are going to be questions and ethical questions there, but there are also opportunities, right? Yes, yeah. I don't think we're there yet. I think gaming is going to continue to be a place where a lot of artists are going to start to play. It just has to be better. It has to, like whenever I talk about instances, the fact that you can only have 30 to 20 people in an instance, right? And if I go and I want to find my friends, it's really hard to find them. That's a problem, right? Because you want to have those virtual shared experiences. It has to be easier for you to find your friends. But yeah, for mass adoption, we're not there yet. I do see a lot of people in LA and like in Hollywood and the music industry starting to look at that. Snoop Dogg is all over this, everywhere. Like every day, every week, something new. I'm starting to get a little tired of him. No, not really. I can never get tired of Snoop. But it's every day, every week is something new. So I think that there are some artists that are leading the way and are doing really innovative things and testing. Sandbox. Now is the time, it's a sandbox. Now is the time to test and be creative and do all these experiments. So yeah, for mass adoption, we're not there yet, right? There's still a lot of things that we need to figure out, especially if you're dropping an album as an NFT. What does that even mean, et cetera? So a lot of things to be worked out there. Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you want to ask a question, can you guys come over here? That might be easier. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Max. And you had said earlier that that all these different companies are going to be making metaverses. It's not just Facebook Meta making one metaverse or one company making all of them. Do you see it coming to a point where there will be one metaverse, kind of like the Oasis in Ready Player One, where we all just go in and do our own things in that one metaverse?
Great question. So I believe there is only one metaverse, right? I believe there is only one metaverse, just like there is only one internet. But within an internet, there's many domains, right? So I almost see this, it's either, you almost have to view this as the metaverse. When I talk about the metaverse, it's capital M, the metaverse, the only one, right? And then there's going to be there are already metaverse platforms or lowercase m, right? So I always give an example and I say, like in New York, you have the greater tri-state area, which is three things, right, but one area. So it's almost like that. It's the greater metaverse. When we talk about the metaverse, it's the greater metaverse, but there's metaverses lowercase m. I tend not to use the word metaverses in plural. I tend to use the metaverse as one thing, just like there's only one internet, in my perspective. But do you have a follow-up?
No, that was it. It was the same. Thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of how I envision, and a lot of us in the industry see it that way. So, thank you.
Hello. In terms of, I have a question about NFTs specifically. I sort of see it moving away from like just kind of novelty, like profile pictures and like trading cards and stuff. There's still going to be that economy, but what do you think is the future for NFTs, specifically like bringing value to them? Because currently it's just trading back and forth. Where do you see that going, and how do you think people can bring value to their startup NFTs?
Yeah. So I will say this, there is a bubble. I do think there's a lot of hype. Not every single one of the NFT projects that gets launched and dropped lately, right now, is going to be valuable. You know, some of them will hold their value, not all of them. You can already see it. That being said, utility, to me, is the biggest thing. Not just dropping, you know, the image to drop it. Like, what is the utility? What does it unlock? What does it give me access to? Does this enable me to get, get access to new drops? Does it give me access to events? Does it, what is the unlockable content and the utility that it gives me, right? So I think that that's a big part of it. And then, how do you continue to bring value? Once again, when you're creating an NFT project, you have to create a roadmap, right? And you have to be serious about that roadmap. You're committing to doing this. If you mint, if you drop and the mint doesn't go well and you don't sell very well, then that's kind of sad. But it is a long-term commitment. So you're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to staff. That's another thing. People don't realize, like, once they drop and they, if you drop the project and you make a gazillion amount of millions of dollars, you got to deliver. You got to deliver. That's, if you don't, then yeah, that's a different issue. You're a scam artist. But but I think that there's ways to go about it. Utility, you're going to have to staff up. You're going to have to look at partnerships. What you're seeing right now with a lot of like the big projects is they're partnering with brands to, allow people to dress their ape in whatever or create different things. Another thing is if you do an NFT project, you need to figure out if you are giving the NFT holders the IP to that project, to what they own. Not everyone gives the IP. It's written in the smart contract, but not everyone has it. So with apes, for example, I own the IP to my mutant ape. I can do whatever I want with her. I can put her in a comic book if I want to, right? But not all NFT projects do that, so.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah. You almost have to look at it, as like owning, if I could own a piece of Looney Tunes before it became Looney Tunes, right? So I own the IP to it, so, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. So Kelly, an aspiring student for web development.
Yeah.
They're joining us from YouTube. They are asking, what are your thoughts on emojis in the metaverse? Will they change? Will they evolve?
I think they're evolving. I always say this. I see, emojis have become emotional surrogates for how we express ourselves and how we communicate, and our avatars in turn become the future of emojis, right? I have 3 kids. I watch them, like, the amount of time they spend outfitting their avatars is incredibly important to them, right? And they change their outfits all the time. And like my son, for example, during COVID, had a birthday party in Roblox. And like what he was wearing to that party was really important to him, more so than whatever I've seen him wear in physical form. So I do think that, they are becoming, avatars have been for a long time and are becoming further an exploration of identity or identities, multiple identities. So I think that there is an opportunity there. When I think about that, I think about Web 2 and I think about like Instagram and all the things that have come up around, body image and girls and men in general, thinking that they have to fit a certain image of beauty, right? Because that's what they saw on Instagram. I kind of like that in Web 3 and kind of, there's a bit of a counterculture there, right? You saw my ape. My ape is not very attractive, right? It's like a melting face. But it's okay. We're exploring identities, right? And I think that I like that in the virtual spaces we have, people have been exploring identities for a while, and that's just going to increase. And it's just something that I see my kids, they try something on for size in the virtual space and test those, test those boundaries and try to explore who they are. So I think that there is something, wonderful there. So. Go ahead.
My name is Michael. I was wondering, what kind of resources would you suggest to somebody who's actually like seen that like coming before, but they like really want to integrate I'm a game artist. I want to really get into that, but I don't want to be like mass producing just like the same thing with small changes. But I want to like do like one asset that's like really unique, and then just keep moving on to the next asset like that, and then sell NFTs like that, not like a whole. Like 10,000.
Yeah, so you don't always have to do a 10,000 PFP project, right? It could be a one-off. It could be a small collection you can test. Like the Boss Beauty's role models is not a 10K, right? It's actually, I can't remember the number right now, but it's like 30. It's smaller drops, right? So you can always test with smaller drops. If you do a 10K, you're probably gonna have to create an algorithm to be able to, especially at Mint, for everything to get assigned all the different properties and rarities and all that kind of stuff. But you can test it, right? And it's, you can go to, OpenSea or wherever your choice is, right? And you can mint something right now and put it on sale, right? So it is, I think if you have a bigger project, there's a lot more things to think about that. But yeah, you could always test and do like, I'm doing a 5 of 5 and testing it out. But once again, this is what I tell everyone. You can't just drop an NFT project. You have to have some type of community, right? Just because you build it doesn't mean they're going to come. You need to be able to communicate. It's a lot of word of mouth, a lot of sharing. This is the project I'm doing. So if you ever drop anything, tag me and I'll
Okay. Yeah, I want to do like
I'll
characters
retweet
with like their own skeletons and stuff, so
Yeah.
people can actually use them and stuff. So.
Oh, I love that. That's cool. All right, another question?
Hello. So yes, so Ricardo is joining us also from YouTube. They're from music production. So what are the implications of combining virtual and physical, and how do you think people will plan on dealing with it? For example, online bullying becoming physical. They do ask this because with many things that start off with good intentions, the community can find ways to abuse it and make a negative experience.
No, 100%. I think that's, I'm trying to start to do a lot of, I live in DC, I'm gonna go back. I live in DC, so I do get to go down to Capitol Hill at times and talk to lawmakers and try to educate them about these technologies. What I don't want to happen is for tech CEOs to go back into Congress and say, Senator, we sell ads. Right? That's been their business model forever, right? So I think it's educating lawmakers about these new technologies, but also understanding that there are things that we don't even know are going to happen that are going to be probably pretty bad, right? But we need to have those uncomfortable conversations right now to try to understand that. Another thing from, maybe not from that perspective on bullying, but the reality of the current situation is that there's multiple metaverses being created. Just like the internet is splintered, there's a different metaverse that many of us in the Western world are going to experience, as opposed to a metaverse, in China or kind of more on that side. They're going to be very different, right? So there are things that we need to kind of be realistic about. I do worry about something called diminished reality, where if we replace the mobile phones with glasses and I can actually have control over everything that I see, what if I just don't like certain people and I erase them from my reality? What does that do, right? How does that impact? So I think there are very uncomfortable things that we need to talk about. So.
They do have another question, and this is Ricardo as well. With decentralization being a factor you're going for outside of money, how can a person be protected with a threat of whatever form when there isn't a way that they're aware of, there's none, to find the source of such threat? And also they continued, or society, we've already struggled to keep key information when it comes to stopping bullying, terrorist threats, and much more. Wouldn't decentralization make it harder?
It could. 100% honest, it could. I don't have an answer to that question. If I did, I think I'd probably be doing something different, right? I would have a lot of solutions. But that's part of what we all need to create, right? Are those safeguards and ideas on how to solve these problems. So yeah, I don't have an answer on how to solve that. So
hi.
I can only do my best. I can only do my best by educating lawmakers and things like that I actually have a capacity to do. So yeah, go ahead.
Hi. So since metaverse is directly connected to our physical world, so is there a way that it can affect the corporate world also?
The corporate world?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
The jobs and everything. How it's gonna affect it?
Well, I think you're already, I think it's several things there when it comes to office work. I think that's obviously changing because of COVID, and we're moving more into a hybrid model. But I think it's also going to evolve. If I am a metaverse company, I call myself a metaverse company, I should be able to allow my employees to work from anywhere they want. Right? I think that's really important. Thank you. So yeah, I think that the sorts of things, it's almost an anthropological question about work. And, for forever, work has meant something physical, something hard, right? Like when my grandparents were alive, it was hard. That was physical labor, right? Many of us are very lucky now that we do knowledge work. So we don't have to lift the boxes per se. But there are things slowly happening where work is becoming more gamified. There's a lot more knowledge work. There are teams of what they're called scholars, playing Axie Infinity, in Venezuela or in Philippines, making a living playing video games, right? So I think there's kind of an anthropological question there when it comes to what work is and what does work entail. So, yeah, go ahead.
All right. So my name is Lucas Spring. The one thing I had concerns about, because you said that the metaverse shares everything. How are you going to combat that with copyright laws, or is copyright laws not going to be a thing?
Yeah, I think that there's several startups working on creating what the digital watermark becomes in the metaverse, and how do you track that? Blockchain is also a big component, I think, of how we're going to track assets. But yeah, there's still going to be a lot of issues. There already are a lot of issues when it comes to IP. You have Nike suing certain companies for, launching things. You've got Birkin suing some creators that launched a Meta Birkin project. So there are already issues. I don't have the answer to that. I think blockchain is part of the answer, but it's going to be really, really complicated for the next couple of years. So there's another big job there. I think lawyers are going to be quite busy. So if anyone's going into law school, you might want to go into blockchain law or something like that. So, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I have another question through YouTube. Michelle, in terms of NFTs, what about the carbon footprint and energy usage of NFTs?
Yes. Not all NFTs are created equal. There are different blockchains, right? There are different ways to do this. So for example, the Flow blockchain, I think they had said something like minting an NFT on Flow is the same as doing a Google search, like from an energy perspective, right? But if you're minting on Ethereum, Ethereum does have an energy problem. We cannot hide that. That is the truth. Anyone that's buying NFTs knows gas is crazy when you're buying an NFT on Ethereum. Yeah, sometimes you pay more gas than for the actual item, which is crazy. There is, I think, a goal to move to what's called layer 2, which is going to move away from proof of work to proof of stake. But, hopefully that happens. There's still an environmental cost. So, if that is, the brands that I work with, for example, the Clinique project that you guys saw, we did that on Polygon, right, which is a lot more energy efficient. Like environmental and sustainability goals are really important to them. They weren't going to do something on Ethereum. So every brand's going to have to make that decision and figure that out. So yeah, but there are different solutions like Polygon. I mean, there's many other blockchains, not only Ethereum. So,
Hey, I'm Gabriel. I got really intrigued by your virtual offices. Do you see virtual spaces as offices or even schools or supermarkets substituting partially or completely the physical ones?
I don't think they're always going to substitute it. Like I'm still going to meet with my colleagues, in New York or Miami where we have offices. But we do meet in our virtual offices at times. We meet clients there, especially if we're doing world building for them. We want to show them what we can do. I'm seeing them also like for recruiting. When we start recruiting more and as we build my company, I'm probably going to meet people there because that's going to be an environment that they're going to know, they're going to feel very comfortable in. So I might meet them there first before asking them to meet in person. So I don't think it's going to be replaced. I think we're still physical beings in a physical world. I still need to go buy detergent, right? So, or at least get it delivered to my house, but I still need detergent. I think it's going to be an evolution. Once again, I don't think it's going to be, in my perspective, I don't want it to be the oasis. It can look as the oasis. The oasis look beautiful. I just don't want to have to go into the oasis because the physical world is so horrible. I don't want it to be Wall-E either, right? Where you had like the adults in these little carts driving around watching TV and with Slurpees. So that's not the world I want to create and leave for my kids. So when I ask you guys, what does Orlando look like in 100 years? I seriously mean, think about what you want to build, what do you want to create. So. Thank you. And I don't know if I know we're at time, so do we have time for more questions or back there? Yes? Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bobby, and I'm a music business student and Latina content creator. And I was wondering, how do you think the metaverse is going to affect or benefit social media influencers?
Ooh, that's a good one. I haven't thought about that too much, but I will say social media influencers as creators, if they start creating and doing content that is, of utility to their community, they can benefit from it too. I just think it's going to change from having to do it for, likes and shares, right? Where you make a percentage of everything, right? Most of the money actually goes to, the people that are benefiting there are the Web2 companies, right? So I think that there is an opportunity to share in the value of their creations. So that will change. I also see there's something happening, and I don't have an informed decision on whether this is a good idea or not, so don't take this as gospel. A lot of creators are looking at creator coins, which is kind of tokens for people to support them. So Patreon, but on the blockchain, something like that to kind of have people, their fans monetize as well from a blockchain perspective. But I haven't done enough research on creator coins to tell you to do it or not do it, so don't, it's just not financial advice. So, thank you. You're welcome. Yeah?
Yes, so Jonathan from Virtual Gaming, will it look like the Oasis where we walk through doorways to different games and applications, or will it be a standard menu option?
I hope it's portals, right? I think it's going to be easier to portal from one place to another. If we do have an open, decentralized metaverse with interoperability, then yeah, it could be really cool to go from one place to another wearing the same thing. So yeah, I mean, it's still going to be menus for now and pop-ups, at least for the foreseeable future, right? But as things get better connectivity, better graphics, better everything, it could potentially be portals. So we'll see.
Well, thank you. And I have a question from Justin. They're from Entertainment Business. How can an indie artist with, say, 10K of a fan base or less start their NFT journey? Seems as of now, unless you're Snoop, it's more challenging.
Well, I mean, you guys are already on Discord, I'm sure. Like, go to some of the projects. Start to connect with different communities. Start getting into Twitter spaces, listening, participating. I mean, find what type of NFT communities you're interested in, and I'm sure there'll be someone there that might be interested in your project, if it's the same type of tribe. So yeah, I mean, it's very community driven, a lot of word of mouth right now if you want to succeed.
Hi, I'm El. I'm in the computer science program here, and I was wondering, since the metaverse is getting so big, do you ever see it going to the point where we'll be able to have our loved ones that have passed, like not recently, but the ones that do pass in the future, like us and our grandkids or our kids, us being able to transfer our conscious to the metaverse where we can interact with them one day again?
Yeah. So those are two big questions.
I was thinking that too.
I will tell you, I'll say the first one, the people that we love. As weird as that sounds, I do think that we need to preserve historical figures for the generations of the future. And like one of the projects I work on is using volumetric video or holograms for historical preservation. So I'll give you an example. Once again, I live in DC, and I have access to a volumetric studio over there. One of the projects we were thinking of doing was, and this is before she passed away, but we wanted to do a volumetric video of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Right? She passed away, so we didn't get a chance to do that. Right? That's very sad. It's a race against time sometimes with these historical figures. But imagine if you could have preserved some of her stories in volumetric form. And I'm not trying to be political. I'm just trying to be. She's a historical figure, right? So I think that trying to use these technologies for historical preservation for the story that the generations of the future, they're going to consume content in a different way. I'm not going to say books are going away because they're not. I think books are still going to be around. But what is the printing press of the future? Like, what is the way we will consume content in the future? And the stories, right? It's going to be very different if I read about Anne Frank in a book than if I actually saw a volumetric video of her. Right, of the real person, right? We can't do that, obviously, but I think like that. I'll be very honest. One of the things I'm planning to do is volumetrically scan my dad reading my kid's favorite book, which is Llama Llama Red Pajama, but him sitting reading them their favorite book, so that they can keep that memory forever in volumetric video.
And do you think that we can ever make ourselves like a living AI into being able to just like, what if one day we do create that AI as a history? And we just get smarter in the AI verse as well.
I mean, that's kind of already happening with some of the things that are happening out there. I know several startups working on those sorts of things. You already have Replica, for example, which you can text with, and they become kind of your best friend. But I think there is a place, though, as creepy as it sounds. I think there is a place for human-centered artificial intelligence. At Magic Leap, we had a virtual human called Micah. That was, she's a virtual human. You would put the Magic Leap on. You would sit in a table in front of her. You would do a collage. Like, you had this experience with her, and it was AI. But it was interesting. Like, when she smiled, people would smile back, right? Or I saw someone, she yawned, and people would yawn. And like there was this different, for me, it was a very important moment of understanding that we can engage with technology in a different way that doesn't make it the enemy, right? It doesn't have to be Terminator. And as far as the brain-computer interface, I mean, uploading your brain, there's an article I wrote for Forbes. It's called like 10 companies that are trying to read your mind and your pets. There's a company there, a startup there that is actually, right now, you can sign something with them where they will take your brain as soon as you die and store it for the potential of you being able to upload it to the cloud. That's not possible yet, but if that's something you're into, you can definitely, you know, it's like $15,000 or something. So welcome to reach out to them, I guess. Not an endorsement, please, not an endorsement. But yeah, there are, you know, I think there are people trying to solve that. I have done brain-computer interface for about, I've tested about 3 or 4 of the external devices. I'm not ready to get anything in my brain implanted. I'm not there yet. But it is pretty life-changing to see those technologies. So.
Awesome, thank you.
And do we have time for 2 more? Yeah, we're good? Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Leo. I'm an entertainment business student in the bachelor's degree program. I had a question for you in regards to if I want to create a R&D company and as a startup to develop something that is non-existent, so I don't really have a business plan to base my concepts off of. What would you recommend since you're in, who would I talk to and who would be the best website, best people to contact for that?
So you want to launch something, but you don't, it's an R&D company. Can you walk me through it again?
It's R&D company. It's going to be called Me. It's going to be for military, educational, and entertainment processes to develop new technology and algorithms for those independent sectors.
Yeah.
So it's going to be called Me, not Me. But so that's kind of where I want to do and what I want to do with my life. But I don't really have any business plan or anything to look at. So my question was, since you've been in the industry and kind of know people, who would be the people to talk about? Because that's all it is going to be. It's not, I can't be like, hey, here's my business plan. It's like, hey, let's talk about this, and where do you see this going?
So, I mean, I'm not sure. I think looking at maybe some grants, maybe, to get you started. There might be some grants, especially if it's government-related, that you could look into. I mean, that's really hard, because most of the people that I talk to have a business plan. They're presenting to VCs or looking for angels. I mean, you're going to have to kind of do the rounds, go to different conferences. If you were to tell me it's an NFT metaverse project, I tell you, you can raise money pretty easily. You can go down to, Miami, and I'm sure lots of crypto bros down there would give you money if it's an NFT thing. But yeah, that's just the factor of where we are today with raising funds for Web3 and Metaverse. But yeah, I don't know,
If I implicated the NFT process for me to kind of raise awareness.
Some people do that. Some people, I've seen some companies launch an NFT component to it to raise funds and not have to talk to VCs. I don't know if that's necessarily always the right way to go. I think that that's a personal decision and a business decision, right? Just like back in the day, I don't know, whenever that was, everyone was doing an initial coin offering. I mean, most of those coins are worth nothing today, right? So it really depends. So yeah, I mean, funding is always an interesting question. I do a lot of investment myself as an angel, but I try to, I try to focus on specific areas that are of interest to me. So yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carson, and I was wondering what kind of opportunities are there to evolve or advance our current systems for creating or consuming stories with the metaverse?
Yeah, I think so. I think the way we share stories is going to evolve, right? So there's 2 components here, right? There's what I call story living in virtual reality, right? Because you're no longer just a passive recipient. You're no longer just a passive recipient. You're an active participant. I think as headsets get better, lighter, better optics, we're going to consume those types of experiences more so, right? It's about experiences. I also think that whatever replaces the mobile phone, whether it's glasses, that's going to change how we consume content, right? The world around us is volume and is 3D. Do I want to put glasses on and see everything like flat screens in front of me? No, that makes no sense, right? I'm going to want things that have volume. Like if I'm going to be seeing a virtual sneaker in front of me, I want a 3D model. I don't want to see a flat surface in front of me, right? So I think that will evolve in how we tell stories. Yeah, but I do see us moving into what's called story living, where we're telling stories in a very different way. So thank you. All right, well, thanks everyone. I was happy to be here. Hope you enjoyed it, and feel free to connect with me.